Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Small Business Stories. You know me, your host, Dr. LL, Loralyn Mears here of Steeris, bringing you folks from, well, the five corners of the globe. Today, we've got Allan Ngo. He is the founder of Digital Solopreneur. So, what does that even mean? He's helping solopreneur folks maximize everything that they know using AI and other technologies, but without losing that human touch that we're all craving, right? Because we want trust, we want connection, we want conversion, ideally, right? So, with that, Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Laurelyn, and hello to everyone listening.
Oh, it's just so wonderful. Like it's our guests, it just in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's been growing like gangbusters. We've got you live from the Philippines. We've had folks live from England, Germany, India, Hong Kong. I mean, New Zealand. It's just, it goes to show us how connected we all are, right? It doesn't really matter so much anymore where we live. Most of us are in pursuit of the same things. Talk to us about that pursuit of entrepreneurship, because that's really what connects so many of us here in this audience.
That's right. What's funny is like I wouldn't say that I'm wired to be an entrepreneur, which is odd because I'm our heritage. My grandparents came from China, migrated here, and during their generation, they couldn't be professionals because they don't have citizenship, right? So it's just mainly entrepreneurship. But by my generation, options were open. And my track was really into employment, kind of career. And what happened for me was like in my mid 20s, I got into like a quarter life crisis where I got burned out in corporate. I had a franchise business with my friends. I thought that was the easy way of doing business, but I got burned out there as well. So I came to a point where I was an educated bum. Like I'm studying well, but I don't know which path to pursue. And that came the third option, which is online. I started out freelancing online and started dabbling into email marketing, affiliate marketing, and I finished accountancy, so I'm really good with working alone and with just numbers with paper. So when I first sold my first ever digital product, which is an ebook, it told me that, hey, you can sell just by being yourself. And that's kind of what hooked me into entrepreneurship. Like, it gave me a guy like me who's not really into connecting with folks and stuff. I can actually make strangers sell. I'm sorry, get strangers to buy online, right? So that got me into it, and that's how I got started. And to your point about being connected, so a lot of my buyers came from all over the country as well, and that kind of opened the doors for me and got me hooked on entrepreneurship.
I want to pull on a comment you made there. It's more than a comment, right? It was a life experience that you had that it sounds like it defined you and your next chapter here. And that's burnout. I'm hearing
Mm.
about this more and more with all the founders that I'm speaking to, again, around the globe, all various ages. I think the youngest person I've had on our podcast here on season 6 has been age 22, and the
Mhm.
oldest has been nearly 80. So
Oh,
there's
wow.
a wide range, right, of folks who are doing their thing, right, being entrepreneurs. But unfortunately, what I'm hearing is becoming increasingly common that people are just, I'm burned out. I'm pulled in so many directions. And I want to hear about how you used your burnout really to propel you into this next thing, right? That you're doing because you're helping other solopreneurs manage what they do so that there's less likelihood that they burn out. So, talk to us
Right.
first about your burnout and how you used it to fuel you rather than squish you.
That's a wonderful question. I would say that what it really helped me is, you know how when we see, say, athletes who know that they want to be swimmers, they want to be basketball players, and they train from when they were little kids to now as adults. I would hear my wife say that it's wonderful that they know what they want at such a young age. And I feel that a lot of folks crave that as well because a lot of folks maybe don't know what that is. We're not blessed with that knowledge right away. And I think what burnout gave me was not really, it's more clarity on what I don't want. And I understood, right? Like in corporate, I didn't want this type of structure. In franchising, I don't want my managers using our business as a stepping stone to be hired in Canada. Right? It's those things that, oh, I know more about myself now. That's why when I got into in the internet, I didn't get into social media per se. I got into email marketing because that aligned more of how I communicate with people. Like I can communicate with them in their inbox one to one directly but without the awkwardness of human interaction. It sounds weird, but it aligns with what I want to do. And that burnout allowed me to understand what I am, what I prefer, what I don't like. And more than anything, it gave me roots, right? Like I have a firmer conviction in my decision because of those burnouts. So I think that's, in a way, that's the silver lining of going through that hardship.
I do think it's as important to know what you don't want as it is to know what you want. Because lots of folks I talk to, I mentor lots of students as well. And they're like, I don't know what I'm going to be. There's AI, there's pressure. I don't know. I don't know. And they get all spun up because they don't know exactly what they want. But I always encourage them, start by eliminating the set of possibilities. Bring it down to a subset of what you possibly like, but know for sure, 1000%, you don't want these things because they don't align with your heart, your mind, who you are. And that creates relief knowing I don't want to do those things. You know what? I'm not going to do those things. Take them out of my head.
Right. 100%. And I think like having guardrails in your business is really important. Um, it's more to the point like understanding what you don't want is important. It's also important that, so I have calendars here. I have a full year calendar here, 1 month calendar there. And the reason that I have that there is to go protect my time as well. And I highlighted there like special events, birthdays, vacations, because those are the blocks that I want to be protected. And having guardrails installed means that for me, I practice what I call like the minimum viable day. So based from the things that my goals for the year, I break it down into, hey, here are the 3 to 4 things that I need to do every day that will inch my business forward. That would take perhaps 1 to 2 hours. Then the rest of the time is gives me agency. It's not to say that I can just waste away the day, just play video games. I can if I want. Most of the time, I just do more work. But if something comes up, like tomorrow, I need to attend a baptism. It's my wife's friend, and I just need to do my minimum viable day. Then for that day, I'll check dip early and accompany my wife. I think it's that agency that allows us to enjoy the business while still being responsible while balancing your life. And I think it's understanding things need to earn their way into my calendar. And that you know what those are by understanding what you want in life and what you don't need in life. Because in online, in business, there's a million strategies. They all work for all different sorts of people. You kind of have to choose what lane you want to pick because not everything, well, we can't apply everything, we can't implement everything. So you pretty much have to choose what your lane is. And having, for me, there's liberation and limitations. Like having those guardrails allows us to move rather than suffocate our everyday.
All the hundreds of interviews I've done, no one has ever talked about the concept of guardrails on their calendar with respect to the big rocks, right? The family
Right.
things, the events, the things that make us whole, the things that make us human. I love that. And I just want you to say a few words about the myth of passive income. Oh, franchise, it'll run itself, this kind of thing.
Right.
And then we'll move into the AI and the tools that are changing all the solopreneurs that you support. So talk to us. 3 words about passive income. Is it a joke? Have we bought into it? We've been sold snake oil. What do you think?
I guess the idea of passive income, it's always there, with interest income, dividend income, so there are legitimate financial products that offer that rental income. But the idea of living fully, all your income coming from passive income, that's typically, it's possible for people with so much capital because you're living off the capital, right? But just pursuing that as a system, it's hard to imagine. In reality, you can automate some of the income semi-passively, but more than anything, I think for me, it's the avoidance of the word job, right? That really fuels people. For me, I understand that my online business, while I love doing it, I treat it as a job. And because when you treat it as a job, there's responsibilities. You have to show up on time. You show up whatever time it is that you committed to, right? There's that element. Like sometimes we think of working from home as a more lax environment, not the same standards as when you're working in corporate. I would say that working from home, being your own boss, requires you to have more system, more stringent, because you only can rely on yourself, right? And for me, active income, it brings in more money, but in reality, it's just really not avoiding work because everything that value of work is super important. And I was asking like a big entrepreneur recently. We had a networking event last night. And I was asking, I know he has 4 daughters. I have a young daughter myself. And my question for him is like, how are you preparing your daughters for the future? Right. And he was just telling me, and his daughter was there. He was asking me, hey, how did I prepare you for the future? The young lady was telling me that basically it's the value of hard work. So he's into e-commerce. So he asked his daughter to pack things, to ship things, to do the grunt work, to be comfortable with work, to be able to be flexible with whatever situation comes, right? And I think that is the real passive income or the real wealth, like the ability to adapt, change, because especially with technology, it's almost hard to plan 5 years out, even a year out, because things change a lot, right? But if you're not afraid of work, then we think of passive income as the ultimate freedom, the ultimate protection. But in reality, resilience and flexibility, adaptability, that's where you can really find peace of mind. Because if the world changes, you know you can adapt. That gives you that security that I'll be okay.
Oh, exactly right. It is all about that work ethic. You have to keep at it. We're in season 6 in this podcast, 350 interviews. Not all the episodes have aired because not all of the guests have had really
Mhm.
productive interviews, and I don't want to shine them in a negative light, nor do I want our listeners to have a bad experience, right? It takes work and it's not overnight success. But okay, let's flip into your lane here, Allan, where you are focused on using AI tools to help solopreneurs in particular maximize, optimize their days, this kind of thing, so that they can deliver their value. So we all know AI's made everything faster. My question is going to be around, but has it made anything actually better, right? We're in a rush to automate everything. So where do you think AI has genuinely improved business? And where has it just made us, able to do things at a higher volume?
This is a wonderful question. And I would notice in the online space, there would be folks who would lean totally to AI, like they would change their identity into AI coaches, right? And there would be some who would pivot on the opposite end, which is like, hey, all my emails are human written, right? So I think what's important here is understanding. For us, I call my community effortless earners because my philosophy is we want to build businesses that support our life, not the other way around. So I whenever I make decisions like that, even with I look at it from that North Star, from that prism. So for me, if an AI tool would help us push that philosophy further, right? Then okay, I'll use AI for that. If it just gives us more work, it then I'll just ignore it even if it's trending. Right. So for me it's understanding it's hard to tell specifically because everyone has their own businesses, business models, right? So for me, I would look at what are the tasks that I have, what are the things that it allows me to hand off. Because I work with a lot of people who have one person businesses or have a small team, right? For me, if there's anything that allows you to unload your tasks, that would be useful. For us, a lot of my clients work with content. So in that sense, we have used AI quite productively in grabbing their voice and being able to create content pretty fast in a way that going with the effortless earner principle, when we create tools like that, I I I assume that I am the laziest person in the world just to stress test the AI. So sometimes I don't have an idea for my email, but I would take a look at my phone's gallery. Then I would challenge the AI. I'll upload the photo. Can you write an email from this for me? Then I would tweak it in a way that it can do it for me. And those are the scenarios that I think, because that aligns with my philosophy, then I would challenge AI to make our workflow simpler in pursuit of that philosophy. Because and that's also my way of putting guardrails. Because every day there's a new thing that AI can do. So for example, video isn't really a big part of my business right now. So anything that comes up that's video, like, it's not a priority for me, right? So that's how you kind of can maximize AI, but not allow it to ruin you as well. So having that North Star that's beyond just AI, because AI should serve us as well. Should it be the one to dictate how our calendar would be run?
That's a good segue from where I'm going with this. So I read a story that you talked about sending a personalized demo video, right? Instead of a generic sales pitch.
Right.
And I thought that's kind of interesting because you're using human touch as a competitive edge to sell an AI tool, right? You can see where that's a bit incongruous. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm asking, do you think that real opportunity with AI is to free all of us to be more human and not less?
Right. Now that you mentioned it, there might be incongruous there. But when I was doing it, I felt it was connected in the sense that ultimately everyone will have their own AI tool. The same way that when NFTs were big during the pandemic, everyone had their NFTs, right? But ultimately, which ones do we buy? It's from people that we trust, right? It's so ultimately, whatever happens, whether pre-internet, when we had the internet, then we had this NFT, crypto, now AI. Ultimately, what what I want to focus on are things that don't change, right? And trust and human connection will never go out of style because ultimately in a sea of tools, in a sea of systems, I would also always rely on people I trust. Hey, what do you recommend? What have you done that worked? Then I'll probably skip the assessment steps and just go with what my friend would recommend. The same way with um so I have done some pitches to appear on podcasts. And sometimes it's 2 a.m. at the end of a call. Rather than answering a form, I would just film a video to apply. And I would get some podcast bookings just because I approach it differently. And in a world where everything needs to be automated, I think understanding the human behind it lends it credibility, lends it authenticity. And authenticity, like sometimes it's being used as a buzzword. That's why I like sending demo videos, like personal messages. I think that will never go out of style. And the fact that it can't be automated is what makes you is what makes it more valuable. So I think going using that hand in hand actually increases the appeal of your AI. Because if you can see the person who's training it, you can connect with that person. That AI tool that you create will you will lend trust to that tool.
First, for the record, the podcast here, Small Business Stories, we do not make our guests do demo videos at 2 o'clock in the morning and try to get on. We've got a whole process centered around that. So I want to make that clear. That's not us. We try to be nice to our guests because we value them. Now, let me come back and dig in deeper on trust because we're in an AI saturated market, right? Everything's AI.
Mhm.
And it's all AI generated content. We can find the patterns, right, of the way the LLMs read it. Like it is not this, it is this, and etc. So
Right.
we can see the patterns. So my question is, what signals that are generated by AI slash content still create trust with buyers?
That's a great question. Um, while I couldn't say as a blanket statement what that is for everyone, what I can share is what I do. Right. One thing that's truly ours is our experiences. Right. So when it comes to content, one principle that I like to always harp on is um, show don't tell, document don't create. Those two things. And I was telling you earlier about looking at my phone gallery for content ideas. That's not a one-off. That's one of my favorite sources of content ideas. Because whenever I can show one of the emails that I wrote previously was I was caught on CCTV. So it was a story. I took a screenshot of I was on CCTV. I was texting somebody and I was able to close a deal. And I was on the stairwell, just standing there in my shirt and shorts. And that was, hey, that moment that I was able to close a deal. And I took a screenshot of myself on the CCTV. And that is something that's truly myself. Um, it's not copy pastable, if there's such a term. And that adds to the element of, hey, okay, this guy is legit. Like he's alive. I can see him. And also he's speaking from experience. And I think all the more with hallucinations, right? It's AI inventing things. You have proof that you're living things, right? And I think that is something that's hard to argue against. And it creates, and by sharing experiences, sharing your life, you don't have to tell everything about your life, but you choose elements of your life that are useful for them. So that's how I approach it so that you can stand out without being loud, basically.
I think what you're talking about there really is sort of that next layer of trust, and that's sincerity, right? I
Mhm.
mean what I say. And
Right.
this is one of the things that I worry about because AI is enabling us to do things at scale. And
Mhm.
I think that the ability to communicate at scale broadly, right? Just push it out, pump it out to all potential prospects, to the world, to this, to that, that I think it's cheapening or at least compromising potentially our sincerity. So the example like you shared, hey, I'm on CCTV. Look at me. Yeah, not in a suit. I'm in my shorts or my jammies, but yoga pants. I'm working. Here I am, right? Trying to close a deal.
Right.
I think examples like that I think we need more of them. What do you advise your clients to do when it comes to contrived, right? Really?
Right.
Like
Right.
you can't create these spontaneous moments. They happen spontaneously by definition. But we want as vendors, as small business owners, as entrepreneurs to get our message out. So how do we create content that is sincere but leverages AI to make us more efficient?
Yeah. I would say don't create, but look at some of the best stories that you could tell has already happened. So maybe what you can do is look back in the past. So take a look at your screenshots, take a look at your hard drive. What have you created? What have you done? What are those ugly drafts that you've created? maybe you can share those processes, right? So look at basically look at documentations, right? Are there transcripts? For example, some of our the best stories that we have are probably during our coaching calls, right? So um, that is something that AI can help you dig into because transcripts can be an hour, 90 minutes. So that's where it can come in handy and extract from your transcript interesting angles for your stories that you can recall. Oh, right. I remember that story. Like just earlier today, I had the coaching call. Then one of our students had her camera off. Then we were taking turns sharing. Then I was telling her, hey, I know she was into fitness. So when I called her attention, she didn't speak right away and her camera was off. I was saying, hey, you're probably maybe X is probably doing some squats because I know she's into fitness. Lo and behold, when she opened her camera, she was in the gym and she was laughing because she was about to do some squats. So even then, that snippet. And what's funny is another participant, so they're long-term clients. The way she framed it was, we're so familiar with who they are that even with the camera closed, my guess was fairly accurate because I know already how she is. And I was telling her I didn't connect the two, but it's from her observation. So, I mean, that could be a story for an email to pivot to offer my coaching. But so it's I love looking at the past for stories because that's why I like photos because we don't take random photos. We only take photos when we want to capture that moment. And every moment has a story. So we have to look at a balance of entertainment and information. And that's what creates I'm an email guy. So I like to think of my newsletter as a signature newsletter where you can feel there's a soul because I'm not sure if you experience this or that sometimes our inbox they all sound the same. So I want that when they see my name, they know that there's a soul behind it. They can feel a person's inside a person's life that's not just regurgitated. So I hope that answered your question, but that's how I would advise my clients to approach it.
Absolutely, because I do think it's important. I mean, you said even at the beginning of our podcast that you chose email as your mode to communicate because for you and how you're wired, it made it easier for you to connect. Like you said, it sort of gave you a little bit of a permission to not have to do that one-to-one direct and human connection, which
Right.
you find, right? You said particularly difficult for you, how you're wired. Do you think there's any danger in entrepreneurs today hiding behind AI, hiding behind these different tools and technologies so that they avoid what they really need to do, which is to communicate directly and connect with their prospective buyers and sell?
That's a wonderful question. What's funny is like for me, one-on-one works really well. I like speaking one-on-one more than group situations, so that's what makes me feel a bit more awkward. Um, what's important is understanding the other party. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's about speaking with them live. So, for example, I had a partner promote one of my AI tool, and that person bought like a coaching call with me. Then I wasn't able to talk to him, but we had the process where after signing up, it leads them to a Facebook group, and the Facebook group has a welcome post. There asks, "Why are you here? What made you join?" And through that, I saw that hey, he was looking for a structured program to get him to actually implement his ideas. He has a ton of ideas. He's a solopreneur, but he doesn't implement on them. So the word structured process, overwhelming with ideas, those are things that, okay, we can use this in our books, in our advertising, in our emails. So there's more than one way to communicate and to get to know your audience. But what's important is you don't stay in a silo and just guess what people need, right? So even if you're not always out there, there are mechanisms that allow you to understand the other party. Because at the end of the day, even if you're always live, even if you're always available, it doesn't mean that you're serving others. Because if you're not connected to the pulse of the market, then even if you're always talking, doesn't mean that they're getting value. But even if you're silent, but you're observant, you study, you study surveys, you participate in chat groups, you study comments and videos, then you will be attuned to what they're feeling, even if you're quiet, even if you're introverted. And in fact, that can even um, lead to a deeper understanding that you can communicate through email, even if it's more impersonal. So I think we have to be comfortable with our strengths, but understand that with any business, we are serving people. And when we serve people, we have to know what they're going through. And there are more than one way to understand who they are.
Now, as we're heading towards the end of our show here, Alan, I'd like you to offer advice to our listeners and to me. If anyone listening is using AI daily, what is one thing we should stop doing so that we can build stronger relationships and better businesses?
Hmm. I would say not to rely on AI. First, always have never lose critical thinking. Like don't look at AI as an answer provider or to be totally reliant on it. Um I was trained as an accountant, and there's this one term we had. It's like professional skepticism. I'm not sure if that's still the right term, but basically that comes from the branch of accounting called audit, right? When we audit the client's numbers, you trust numbers, but you always have a healthy sense of skepticism because your role is to catch mistakes, right? And I think that's a good carryover to how we approach AI. We use it as a tool, but we also carry a healthy sense of skepticism. So we ask for sources, right? We ask for sources. We challenge whenever it gives you an output, say an email. I would ask it, hey, are there inconsistencies within the email? Are there grammatical corrections that we need to have? So, and it would find out, all right, my first paragraph contradicts my last paragraph. So it's like having a healthy sense of skepticism because at the end of the day, we don't want, it's still our name, right? When we send an email, when we post something, it's still our name, right? And we're the ones who it will represent us. So it's our name that we need to protect. And at the end of the day, with a trust recession going on, that name carries more weight now more than ever.
Ooh, I've never heard that term, trust recession. I think that just pretty much sums it up, right? That's where we're at. Nobody believes anything, never mind healthy dose of skepticism. I think we need to maybe pull back from that because I think we've crossed the line from skepticism to cynicism, and we've got to, right, find ways to connect, find ways to stay human. Like I love
Right.
this through conversations like this and other podcasts. There's so many wonderful sources of information and access to people and knowledge that brings that humanity and keeps it there. Now, Alan, if people want to get a hold of you, find you, learn about digital solopreneur, where do they go? Where do they look?
Sure. You can drop by digitalsolopreneur.com. We also have a gift for your viewers. So we created this tool. If you have ideas, you're a consultant, expert, but you don't know how to package your ideas into products, your skill into products, we have this thing called that What Can I Sell? GPT. Pretty straightforward what it does. It would just tell it what you do, and it will give you 5 product ideas that you can verify and sell. So you can visit digitalsolopreneur.com/Loralyn and it will drive you directly to there. And it's totally free. And I hope you go to town with it.
I'm going to have to try it now, especially if it's under my name and then our access, right, for our guests. That's lovely. Alan, last question, signature question of the show. You know what's coming because you've been listening to my podcasts, right? If we got to look in that closet of yours over there in the Philippines and there was a pair of footwear, shoes, boots, something that said, I am Allan Ngo. Like, this is who I am. This represents me, my personality, my brand. What are we looking at, and why is that footwear you?
That's I like this question. It would be my pair of New Balance 1906R. Why? Well, it's white, so a lot of it is about all purpose, right? Because like many people, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother, all this brother. We play many roles, right? And through many roles, we have different functionalities. And that one pair of shoes, that's the one pair I can use everywhere. And with utility, um, one of my key motivators in life, my wife would ask me this. One thing I want to be known for is reliable. And I was surprised when she told me that, hey, that's how I see you now. And I feel like whatever I use, I want it to be reliable, not just one shot for one specific purpose. So, so yeah, I think that would represent me well.
There we go. You heard it here from Allan Ngo, like founder of Digital Solopreneur. Alan, thank you so much for staying up late and doing the recording here tonight. We wish you continued success with your business, and I can't wait to try that tool. Thank you,
Go
Alan.
ahead. Thank you, Lauren. It's been my pleasure and it's been wonderful. Thank you very much.